listening to Your Music, Your Business, a podcast putting you in the room with music industry professionals so that you actually hear it first. Hello all and welcome back to the podcast. Today we are joined by Michelle Connery, Director of Partnerships at Q Music and founder of Connery. Michelle's pronouns are she, her, and welcome back to the podcast, or to the podcast I should say, Michelle. Gosh, it really is a Friday, isn't it?
Thanks for having me. Let's see how much we can focus on this today.
Yes, and I feel like we really should put a bit of a PSA warning on this episode. We are 2 weeks out from Big Sound, one of your busiest periods. Every time I see you at Big Sound, you're always like, I don't know how I'm standing, but I'm here. How are you going at the moment?
There's a lot happening. It is a busy time. The team is like running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It's a big year too, because this year we've kind of expanded a lot of our services and created more cool stuff, but that is also creating 3 times as much work. But that's how you make a better event. I think someone did a count. We're doing 500 events at Big Sound this year. 500 separate events. So there's a lot happening. And the team is, I went to bed at about 2:00 yesterday morning and I was still getting emails from one of my team members, which is not the best way to behave, but that sort of shows where we're at. We're on deadline for production today at midnight, at the end of business today. All of our production specs need to be in for all of those events. So yeah.
Wow. Yes, very, very busy day for you all. And that is why, for listeners, this is actually a shorter episode than normal, because we want Michelle to go and, be able to do her job and not end up being, asleep at midnight tonight.
We'll see how we roll.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, to jump right in then, I know you've done a lot of different things across your career in the, entertainment space, working with, in partnerships with a lot of different festivals, conferences, all that sort of thing. Just really quickly though, I want to touch on what is Q Music and the definition for you. I know I'm throwing an extra question in here than what we initially discussed, but what is sort of like, maybe I want to make a bit more specific. What is Big Sound for you in a really quick nutshell for people that don't really know what Big Sound is?
Well, I think it's extraordinary what Big Sound is. Big Sound's the biggest music industry conference and has been running for nearly 25 years in the Southern Hemisphere. It is a major export vehicle for our artists. It's both a showcase event where new, emerging and export-ready artists are showcasing. And it's also obviously a really in-depth conference where we really dig deep into what is affecting the music industry at the moment, the ebbs and flows, and there's a lot of stuff happening. And on top of that, it's like probably the best place to really do networking in our industry for a really solid period. It's for the first week in September. We actually invest in bringing really key decision makers from overseas, America, Europe, UK, Asia. We bring like buyers, bookers, agents over to view our talent and hopefully extend their careers internationally. It's a pretty hectic week. A lot of business is being done, but it is a really important date in the industry calendar.
100%. I couldn't agree more with you. It's probably one of the most intense weeks of my entire life, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I've invested in very sensible shoes this year for it.
Nice.
Like you, because it starts in the morning with like networking breakfasts. This year we're actually doing a lot more networking around the conference sessions to give people opportunities to dive deep and talk a little bit more around what's happening in that conference session. So instead of just going conference session, it kind of goes breakfast. Let's talk about what we're about to talk about. We're calling this the Encore and Prelude networking series. So it kind of gets wrapped in that conversation. So you can have breakfast and then you can do a couple of panels and then there'll be an encore after a panel, for example, if you want to really talk about what's influencing ticketing. We've got some ticketing in the sort of festivals ticketing, what's affecting festival programs. And if you really want to talk about the people who are on that panel, to the people who are on that panel, and to the people who that's really affecting, there's like a moment to break away, have a drink and a bite to eat and really talk about it. So there's a lot of opportunities to really dive into that kind of conversation.
Yeah, wow, that'll be really fantastic to see how that actually plays out as a conference. And yes, the comment you made about getting you a good pair of good shoes is definitely something that was literally on my mind this morning. I was like, those shoes are actually, I'm going to need to replace them, but I better replace them now so I can wear them in before Big Sound.
Yeah, I made the mistake of thinking cons was suitable for Big Sound. It's not. You need like proper supportive shoes for running.
Yes.
But I do about 35,000, 40,000 steps a day during Big Sound.
Wow. Yes, because you are flat out. You are very hands-on. Yes, you are actually a very hands-on partnerships director. So it's always really great to see. Yes. Yeah. Well, actually, what is the reality of that, the size of that team this year? How big are you for the 500 events you've got?
Well, I mean, look, we have, across those 500 events, you've got all of the showcase performances. That's 130 artists in 18 venues. And there's a team that just really runs that sort of artist side. In the conference space, I think there's 5 conference venues and I think 90 sessions, give or take. So that's run by the conference team and the programming team. And then there's all of the sort of parties, networking, lunches, brunches, activities like that we run. And my team is is responsible for, and we couldn't have Big Sound like it is without these kind of additional events that our partners help us throw. Otherwise it would be a lot smaller, and it wouldn't be anywhere near as fun, but it would also have a lot less impact. So our team is very small. It obviously grows in this week when we start to run out production and venue and event coordinators. But the core Big Sound, the core Q Music team is about 7 people. And then the core Big Sound team that's sort of running, well, we kind of pick up Big Sound as soon as we finish the Queensland Music Awards.
Actually.
The other thing that we do a lot of other things as well, because Q Music is actually is Queensland's music industry body. Yes. It's quite unusual to run an event like Big Sound and do the work that we need to do for the Queensland music industry. Obviously, Big Sound is a national facing event, but we still do our sort of industry connect and our industry development work for our members, our advocacy and lobbying work with our government for our members. So Big Sound's like a thing that takes our attention, quite a lot of it, but it's still like adjunct to the other stuff that we need to do as Q Music.
Yeah, wow. Yeah,
I think the team at the moment, we work out of a very small office above the 7-Eleven on the corner in Fortitude Valley, but we have taken up the space now, and the production team's in another office. So I'd say, look, I can't tell you how many people we've got working at the moment, but I think we're probably up to about 30 or so core.
Wow. And that's pretty impressive for the probably more than 500 attendees that you'll have as delegates. And then on top of that, the, punters who'll come just for the shows. So it's a big feat for such a small team. I always take my hat off to you guys whenever I see you all just like frantically running around.
I think I'm a bit lucky this year. We've got a couple of, we've got an intern that's come in from the push, which is great. And we've got in my team, and we've got a secondment from a partner who wanted to get to know the music industry as well, which is always nice when the people who partner with us, it's from Sofitel, who is one of our hotel partners, had given us one of their staff members who wanted to really understand the music industry. So it's really great when our partnerships kind of cross over that way as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so we have thankfully a few more people. Might mean that I don't need to carry signage and put it up myself this year, but we'll see.
We'll see. It's all the life of a director of right?
There's a lot to do.
Yeah.
But it also part of being a director, which is difficult, is that you've got to think strategically about what's happening next Big Sound in the middle of this Big Sound, and how we are sort of extending our partnerships and extending our relationships, because unlike some of our friends down south, we're a not-for-profit. So we don't have when I went to South by, talking at last year down in Sydney, and saw the signage and saw the spread of it. I was like, my God, their signage budget is a higher budget.
Yeah.
But I think we have to keep, for us to even maintain what we have now means we have to grow significantly in investment, because we, in the end, are still we're like a music festival, and we all know how hard they are at the moment to keep going. So we're up against it in that way. So partnerships are really, really important to ensure that we can keep making the inroads for our industry internationally through big.
Well, that's such a good segue into sort of where I wanted to deep dive with you a little bit too, is like, how do you identify and approach potential partners that align with Big Sound's mission? And I'm sure, as you said, like you are looking towards, say, like the next Big Sound as well. So you're always, ear to the ground. Like I, as we both know, but for the listeners, like I've been a corporate partner of Big Sound last year, which was amazing. Yes. But I would love to know your thoughts on like what makes a partner like truly valuable for both the industry and to be the corporate partner of Big Sound.
It's interesting. Well, obviously, the people who are talking to us, and Big Sound's an interesting beast to do partnerships in, because I've done partnerships for many like festivals and events. But Big Sound's interesting because it has 3 distinct audiences. It's got obviously the industry audience, which we are really targeted with what we do at the conference and the networking. That is, very important to us. We need to attract those people to Big Sound, and their eyes, thoughts, and opinions are really important for what we're doing, plus their ticket money. Then we also have the kind of artist audience, the people who are coming to showcase. They are, their objectives at Big Sound are different to what the industry's objectives are. And then, of course, we've got the general public, the punters who come to watch the showcases. That audience is obviously really switched on and, wanting to be aware of what's coming up. They're sort of early adopters, tastemakers. They really want to know what's coming up through the industry, and they are really important to obviously audience development for all of our parties. So I guess when it comes to like strategically planning for partnerships for Big Sound, we're talking to a lot of different people, and it depends on what they want to do. Yeah. But primarily their focus will be on a thriving music industry, whether that's making sure that the audience is growing or making sure that the industry is sustainable. So a lot of our partners in the first instance are music industry organisations. Our presenting partners this year are Spotify and Oztix. Oztix has been a partner for 15 years, and they are massively invested and really supportive. And they also obviously do all of our ticketing, but they also invest very heavily as a local ticketing agency in the importance of maintaining this industry. Yeah. Spotify's come on board for the first time this year and increased their investment quite significantly. And, that what they're doing is helping us build our artist offering. And develop the artist hub to make sure that all of the artists that do come to Big Sound. So when an artist comes to Big Sound, they're obviously looking to progress their career. And that can be, in the past, it's been, I've got 2 or 3 opportunities to perform in front of these big music execs, and I need to make sure I've got do I get an international tour? Do I get an international agent, distribution? All of the things that you can get through finding the right people at Big Sound. It can be a lot of pressure if it's the first time you've been at Big Sound, and you might might walk away thinking I've not really achieved anything. What we're working on this year through these partnerships is developing education for these artists so that they walk away from Big Sound feeling like they're the cohort of 2025. They've got a little workbook, they've got workshops they can go to know how to set up their sort of selves financially with tax accountants and business advisors. We've got how to get published, how to do self-distribution, how to find the right booking agent. Those sort of really educational pieces. That's all being kind of developed through our partnerships with major partners and people who are doing special events in our artist hub. That's when we sort of think about who we approach. I mean, some of it's organic. We've got some people are long-term partners and have been partners for ages. Some of them, it came down to, for example, we've got a really good partnership this year. I'm really excited with American Apparel. Literally, I sort of bailed up at South by when they were doing some pressing of T-shirts and said,
You saw it, yeah.
"Hey, I've got an idea. Could you print digitally and could you do 120, 130 different designs? Because then we can do merch on demand at Big Sound." Because we've never been able to facilitate merch at Big Sound when you've got 130 things. And some artists aren't there yet. So with this activation that we're doing with American Apparel, every artist has the opportunity to submit a design. And then when they're up on stage during their showcase, they can say, hey, if you like us, go and buy our merch at the pop-up that'll be at the Fortitude Music Hall. Wow. It's $25, and the artist will get a percentage of that, the amount that they would normally get to if they had printed, invested and made their own. So it's like an opportunity to make money out of merch without an outlay. And that's just, so for American Apparel, who have been trying to position themselves as supporting of the music industry, it's just a really great, actually authentic way to work together. We're really excited. Plus they're doing our merch. We've got some really cool merch this year.
Now I'm going to have to allocate just enough space in my luggage to be coming home with a bunch of merch.
There's socks and there's hats and there's hoodies. I'm so excited. I'm going to be fully kitted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think one of the things that we're working on now is being more visible to consumers. Consumer budgets is where the marketing money is for partnerships. So we need to sort of elevate ourselves in the consumer space. It's quite hard when you're working in the music industry and asking music industry organisations for money because we're all up against it. So
yes.
we need to find new, strategically we need to find partners that are sort of not as influenced by the ebb and flow of what's happening in live music.
Yes, yeah, which is very difficult. I know we've definitely had that conversation like between us as well, sort of being, I know you approached me at the start of the year being like, so does Release want to come back? And I'm like, not yet, we don't. Yeah. But, it can look so different. And I think, that does go to show like the differences in, the sort of partnerships that you do have to approach. But then also the differences in just business types, I suppose, in the industry and, the capability of companies like myself that are in tech that, the answer could be yes today, or it could be like a yes in, 2 years. And I suppose like, with technology partnerships, I find Spotify sits on that really weird line between the technology partnership, but then technically they're also just a music industry company.
I think when we talk about horses out of the gate, they went a lot earlier than everyone else, obviously. They are obviously in a position where I can approach them for major partnerships. There are not many other tech companies I would feel that about. We are working with a couple of tech partners this year, and we've got a sort of a developing relationship with CAST, which is the Centre for Arts, Sports and Technology. And they're running a little bit of a tech showcase for us, with the idea that hopefully this can be something we can cement a bit further in the future. One of the issues that I have with tech partnerships, and please don't take this the wrong way, it's more the fact that if I had to manage just the amount that emerging tech companies can invest in a thing like Big Sound, I would need to probably clone myself 5 times over to make the money we need to make. But it's not that we don't think it's important. So we're looking at ways that we can sort of extend that partnership through working with people like CAST. We do have an interesting thing coming in with a relationship with Ordu this year, who are the tech company that records music in venues. It's that you basically plug a little unit in the wall, and they're working with our licensing companies to sort of track what music is actually being listened to in venues, not just music venues, but, sporting venues, hairdressers, that sort of stuff. But it's about sort of actually, it's kind of like Shazam in a box on the wall.
Yeah.
They can do really interesting data analysis around what's being listened to, and so that those royalties to artists can be directed, so we can actually say that this percentage of Australian music's being played in this venue, and we can start to talk to our venues about being more mindful about listening to Australian music. So hopefully all of the venues that we're working with at Big Sound this year will have one of those units, so we can do a bit of tracking around that and maybe talk about it at next year's conference. So yeah, it's interesting to see that technology develop. And if you want to look into capital raises and who's investing in Ordu, have some fun, because it's like, I think the last round they got, I know Elton John was an early investor, and I think
wow,
Paul McCartney's in there, Adele, like the people who obviously want to support artists are supporting that. So yeah, fascinating, right? That's the sort of rounds you want to be doing, don't you?
Yes, very much so. I saw that will.i.am invests in a few companies. I was like, oh, that'd be really nice.
You just need to land a few of those.
Exactly.
And PR and your investment.
Yeah, exactly. And then I really would be annoying you at Big Sound, being like, hey, I want to do this big event.
That's right. will.i.am will take it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like I'll have him showcase for you. No, I think you did really nail it just before too, of like, in Australia, music tech is still quite developing, and there is a lot of funding gaps, I think, in Australia that we've talked about on the podcast for music tech. And so you're not really, like it sort of flows on, and you see that in conferences like Big Sound, where you can't necessarily afford to provide all these spaces for those small budgets. And, when you actually think, bigger picture on it too, it's like if we're looking at, those smaller PR companies, those smaller booking agencies, like you can't afford to be doing those really small micro events with them. Otherwise you would have to clone yourself. So you do have to take those bigger showcase opportunities and find a way to work with people with the most impact, which at the moment, I personally love the idea of, the direction that CAST is going to take with showcasing a bunch of music tech companies at the one event, so then it sort of has more impact.
Yeah, I think we will work a little bit in strategically growing that, hopefully in the future, because we are aware of the importance of technology in this industry. We don't want to cut off our nose to spite our face, but we also have to be strategic in how we can support it. So we will be working to try and extend that through partnerships. And if anyone's got a ton of money that they'd like to help, call me. I'll definitely send a big showcase. It's more the fact that can't do it in like small bites, but
yes, exactly.
We do it. It's just how do we get there? And I think we will get there if we continue to develop the product around the tech product as well.
Yes, definitely. Well, I think, I suppose that sort of leads me to the next direction I wanted to take with you, which is, what types of partnerships are you most excited about exploring in the coming years? Like, where do you see the gaps of opportunity for collaboration in sort of the evolving music industry? Like, I'm sure some more AI companies are going to start popping through as bigger partnerships soon.
Oh, God. Can you imagine the trouble I'll get into if I speak too much to AI? And that is always an issue as well. We have to kind of be conscious of who we work with, but we also need to be sustainable. And I'm sure some of your listeners will have opinions in some of our partnerships that we've taken on. But I think in the case of, more than anything, for us to do what we do, we need those partnerships. First of all, part of the journey is working with our partners. Every year we want to deliver more and a better outcome for them, so that they, if they can, increase their investment. It's better to work with people who understand you and deliver them more, so hopefully they can step up and help us more. A lot of the conversations I'll be having with our partners this year is like, what have we got right? What have we got wrong? What can we do better? And how can we get you more invested? Because we're sort of sitting in that sort of pre-COVID level of investment that the expenditure is much more. So we've got to work with that. Like I said before, I mean, ideally, if we can find a couple of commercial-facing, consumer-facing brands to work with us, that would be an easier way to sort of deliver. And we're working to grow our presence in the consumer market. We're a bit different because, like Big Sound, even though it's a fantastic music festival and there's 130 acts and it's just huge, it's still on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which is a bit unusual for a music festival. That being said, the amount of acts that we get through Brisbane that are on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you've just got to turn up, and people are starting to turn up for it. So I think, our target will be, at the moment we have 2 presenting partners. If we could grow to have 3, that would make my life a lot easier. That would mean I would need to deliver a partnership at the dimensions of a major partner is a lot of work too, but that would make our life easier. But finding the right fit for that is also, you need someone who really needs to talk to probably all 3 of our markets, and that's why Oztix and Spotify are really good fits. They need to speak to everyone. So I think strategically we want bigger investment, because at the moment we've got 85 partners, which is fabulous, but also a lot of plates to spin.
Yes.
But yeah, I think we're definitely really blessed by the partnerships we do have, and we want to continue to work with everyone who's come on board and grow them. So we're really looking at making sure we've got outcomes for everyone involved this year.
Yes.
And then if the government could give us a bit more money, that'd be great too.
And I suppose, as you were talking then too, it really came to mind of it is in your best interest and the team's best interest to be delivering amazing events for the partners and, asking that question at the end of saying, how can we reinvest? Because it's such a better strategic move for both sides, both parties, to keep that relationship going than to, be putting so much effort in one year and then to lose all that momentum.
I've been doing this sort of work now for way too long, 25 years. The one thing I say to anyone who's sort of starting an investment in an event or a partnership that's over, mainly event-based sponsorships and partnerships that are like an annual event, that you should really try and commit to a minimum of 3 years. Because the first year you're establishing yourself in front of the audience, and things won't be perfect. You will learn what you need to do. You learn what's the better outcome. Year 2, you address those things, and then people start to expect something to happen. Year 3, people expect it and want it and want you back. If you ever do a naming rights partnership, it takes 3 years for naming rights to take. So it's definitely minimum 3 years, sometimes 5, but it takes, there's really the best way strategically to plan for an outcome through event partnership or any sponsorship is to think for a 3-year strategic plan. And in that, commit to adding a little bit of money each year. Yes. Because that gives you an opportunity to maintain and grow. So that's what I usually advise people. It doesn't always work, but that's what I usually advise people.
Yeah, we tried to put the mindset in, and then the music industry goes, but
we talk about it all again and start again next year. That's also part of my wanting to not have to renegotiate everything every year, because then I can move on to more growth. But it's definitely, from the work that I've done, the best partnerships have had 3 years investment minimum.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, actually as a punter, a person who's definitely been a delegate multiple times at Big Sound, I could actually tell you a company that did that amazingly, and that would be GyroStream. They're stuck with they launched they were everywhere the first year, they were everywhere the second year, less so the third year, but
I think they're getting too busy to be as involved as they were.
Exactly.
They have grown so much. Yeah. But they are obviously a really major partner of ours, and of Q Music in general, because they are a local thing. It is always easier to work with locals. I think one of the things that I felt really learned in the last year or two is that even though it takes a bit to bring people up to Brisbane, because all that you're doing is the business of Big Sound in Brisbane, you're making probably 6 months of work happen in 3 days. Because you're not sort of going back to the office to do stuff, you're just doing business at Big Sound. And so I think a lot of things happen. So even if you are sort of a smaller emerging business, if you can't afford to be a partner, you should still be coming to Big Sound. That should be part of your investment in yourself and in your business. Get in here, get onto the delegate hub, look at everyone there. We've got this thing this year that we've developed. Some of our partners are doing called conversation corners, which they're sort of like an hour in our delegate hubs and an hour in our artist hub, where our partners just have an hour to sort of sit in a corner and you can go and talk to them and meet them. And some of those people are the people that you want to be talking to, whether they're accountants, booking agents, publishing people. If you want to make some connections, they're like having office hours at Big Sound where you can pop in and say hello to them. I think if you're coming up and you want to make connections, there's a lot of, instead of just the networking parties, which are amazing, there's a lot of opportunities for you to really meet people and develop those networks quite strongly. Plus, there's a lot of great parties.
Yes, so many parties. And I think also, personally, what I find one of the biggest strengths of Big Sound is that it is baked into the culture that delegate portal is to be used to network with people and to lock in meetings and have meaningful meetings every 15 minutes.
And it's actually developed this year, after I learned from my first year last year, I got stuck in the box office on first day trying to sort out stuff, and the amount of people who sort of said to me, "Can you charge my computer? Can you charge my phone?" I'm like, we need a place where delegates can do this. So we created the Delegate Hub, which will be in the foyer of the Fortitude Music Hall, and there'll be workspaces there. There's places for meetings. We'll have a coffee cart out the front. I heard you people. The coffee cart will be open till 4 o'clock. You can get it in Brisbane after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I've done it for you. Kixel's actually giving every one of our donors, every one of our delegates a free coffee at that cart as well. You'll get a card on your delegates pass. So there's opportunities for you to sort of sit down, charge, do a meeting inside those spaces. It's not too salubrious, but you've got a place where you can have those meetings all the way up until like 5 or 6 o'clock. And then there's also some partnerships we've got with some venues where you can have a really nice sit down coffee / cocktail. We're doing a vinyl bar pop-up record store in the venue that's next door in partnership with Archie Rose. So it'll be and some of our artists and some of our partners will be bringing some vinyl to sell there. But you'll be able to go there and have some meetings, get a coffee in the morning, cocktails in the evenings as well. Plus we'll be doing some book signings and stuff there. So it's really cool. So that's the sort of stuff we've had to develop. Like, we need to create spaces for our consumer-facing partners, such as like Archie Rose and our drinks partners, to do cool stuff and connect with the industry. So that's all the sort of ideation that you have to do. One of the great things about working in the world of partnerships is you do get to have crazy ideas and then try and bring them to life. There's a lot of that happening this year.
Yes, it sounds like it. And I think that is the beauty of running a music conference as well. Like I know that there's been everything from free tattoos to, now we've got merch,
Yeah.
I love it. It's always an experience going to Big Sound. And it sounds like this year you guys have stepped it up even more. And now I'm I want to try and tick off my bucket list of like, how do I get the cocktail and the drink and the coffee and the...
There's a lot. Literally sit down inside that delegate portal and plan your life, because it will be big.
It will be big. I plan
to.
There's
500 things to get to.
Yes. Well, this was so good. Thank you so much for your time today. We will wrap it up here with my last question that we make sure we ask absolutely everybody on the episode. And your answer can be as short or as long as you want it to be. When you are 90 years old in a retirement home and wanting to brag to your room neighbour about what you did during your long life, and this can be cue music or not, what would you like to say to them?
If I make it to 90 years old, I don't think I've been living the life that I'm actually living. It's funny we talk about these things. I have lived I've had the most fascinating career, because it has been really varied. Working in partnerships and doing events all around the world. I ended up my first festival gig. Well, my first job out of uni took me to the Cannes Film Festival. From there, I went to the Edinburgh Film Festival. I have what I like to say to most of my friends who don't actually understand what I do, because I had to start a business and make a website and Connery.com to explain what I actually do. But I've never been paid great, but I've lived a career that has been supported by champagne and anecdotes, and that is pretty much my life is one long glass of champagne and anecdotes. And I think that's like, if someone gets stuck next to me in a retirement home, they're not going to hear me shut up. I've got a lot of stories. Some of them, yeah, will need some champagne and probably some bleeping and some. But I have done a lot of fun things, met a lot of interesting people, and I've seen all sorts of art forms in all sorts of weird and wonderful places. So I don't regret a thing. They sort of say that if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. That's absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
If you love your job, you work your ass off for it. Yes. And the lows are incredibly low when things don't go well. And I think everyone who lived through COVID in our industry will say exactly the same thing. But when the highs hit, they're really amazing, and you end up having great stories to tell.
So true. Oh, I love that answer. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Michelle, and good luck with Big Sound 2025. 2025. We're up to 5 now.
26 and 27.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. I will hopefully see you in a few weeks around the traps. We'll have a cocktail. listen to some vinyl, go to a party or two. And I hope to see the rest of your listeners there too.
Yeah, definitely. So excited. Can't wait.
Okay. Thanks, mate. I'll speak to you soon.